everyone, Chang here and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about two specific properties of algebra. And just by focusing on these two properties, we can level up our math skills from level 1 all the way to the bottom, all the way to 100 in such a short amount of time. You're going to lose all your friends and family because they're going to think you're cheating on everything you do. Yes, we are going to be talking about the associative property and the commutative property today. You see, every time we do basic calculation, we are actually using these two properties. The only problem is that every time we use these two properties, we never use it to their full potential. By the end of this video, you will be able to come up with different ways to use these two properties so that your everyday calculation is going to be that much easier. Let's start off by recapping what the associative property and commutative properties are. The associative property allows you to group numbers in whichever order you want, as long as you're working with either all addition or all multiplication. Now let's look at this example. So the examples I used in a previous video were 1 plus 2 plus 3, in which you can either add 2 plus 3 first or 1 plus 2 first. The answers will still be the same, which in this case is 6. Now I went over a multiplication version in which I used 2 times 3 times 4. You can multiply 3 times 4 first or 2 times 3 first, and once again the answer will be the same. Now here's a note. The associative property does not actually work with subtraction or division. Now commutative property allows you to switch the orders of the numbers in whichever way you want. As long as you're working with all addition or all multiplication, the answers will still be the same. So the examples I used in a previous video were 7 plus 8, which can be written as 8 plus 7, with both resulting in the same answer of 15. For multiplication, I had 8 times 9, which can be written as 9 times 8, with the answer still being the same. And like associative property, commutative property actually does not work with subtraction or division. Now individually, each and every one of these properties are amazing. There's no denying that. But the real superpower is when you actually combine these two. When you combine both the associative property and the commutative property, you're basically saying that for the problem, as long as they're either all addition or all multiplication, I can choose to group the numbers, to switch the orders of the numbers in whichever way I want to make my calculations a lot harder or easier, and the answers will still be the same. And that is amazing. That's where the beauty all comes together. Let's look at this particular problem. You have 4 plus 14 plus 24 plus 6 plus 16 plus 26. Now you could just add it from left to right and there's no problem with that. You know what? Let's take 5 seconds to do that. Got it? Good. If not, that's okay, because for all of us, we just basically wasted 5 seconds doing it the caveman way. Some people like to call it the brute force method. Now, with these two properties, we can actually switch it up and make our lives that much easier. Let's reorganize the problem. Instead of 4 plus 14 plus 24 plus 6 plus 16 plus 26, I'm going to switch it to 4 plus 26 plus 14 plus 16 plus 24 plus 6. Now this problem is a lot easier. Still don't see it yet? Let me add the parentheses to make it super obvious. Now we have parentheses 4 plus 26 plus parentheses 14 plus 16 plus parentheses 24 plus 6. All of a sudden that problem that we might not have been able to solve in 5 seconds just became so much more simple that it is just undeniable. So we now have 4 plus 26 is 30, 14 plus 16 is 30, 24 plus 6 is 30. So it's 30 plus 30 plus 30, which is 90. Let's look at a quote-unquote more difficult problem. We have 1732 plus 400 plus 18. These two properties allow us to break it and regroup it in any way we want to make our calculations a lot easier. If you can calculate from left to right currently, that is entirely fine. That is amazing. But let's change it up. Instead of having this original problem, let's rewrite it to 1700 plus 400 plus 32 plus 18. I basically just took the 32 out of 1732 and put it separately. Now that gives us 2100 plus 50. So we know that when we add all those numbers together, it's actually 2150. Now that works for addition. Great, but a lot of the problems that we work with aren't actually addition problems. So what do? Well, here's the crazy part. It is not limited to just addition. Remember that the associative property and commutative property works for multiplication as well. So let's look at an example with multiplication. Let's say I give you this problem. 1 times 2 times 4 times 5 times 20, let me catch my breath, times 25 times 50 times 100. Now that's a pretty scary problem to multiply from left to right. You know what? Let's try it for 5 seconds. It's tough, right? Not even I can do it in 5 seconds. But here's the thing. With these two properties, we can rearrange this problem to something a little more simple. Let's say, for example, I rearrange it this way. Instead of the original problem, now I have 1 times 100 times 2 times 50 times 4 times 25 times 5 times 20. I'm going to add the parentheses to make it even more obvious of what I'm trying to do with this. Now, we have parentheses 1 times 100 times parentheses 2 times 50 times parentheses 4 times 25 times parentheses 5 times 20. Now, this is just ridiculous, right? We can see clearly that now we just basically have 100 times 100 times 100 times 100. And there you go. Super quick math, you guys. 100 times 100 times 100 times 100 is basically 100 million. Now that was beautiful, but here's the kicker. I'm not done. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that associative property and commutative property does not work with subtraction and division. And that's true, but here it is. We can actually use a workaround or a trick, as you can call it, right, to force these two properties to actually work. So let me give you guys an example. You see, for this example, we have 3 minus 2 equals 1. Okay. Now, if we flip it around, we have 2 minus 3 equals negative 1. Well, yeah, we did say that commutative property does not work, so this clearly showed that it doesn't work. But remember that 3 minus 2 is actually the same as 3 plus negative 2. Now, when we rewrite 3 minus 2 into 3 plus negative 2, we actually have an addition problem. So the two properties actually work. Well, the same could be said for division. Let's just say, for example, we have 4 divided by 2 equals 2. Okay, not bad. When we flip it around, we actually have 2 divided by 4, which in this case is 1/2. Yes, we agree that commutative property doesn't work, but for division problems, such as 4 divided by 2, it is actually the same as if you write it as 4 times 1/2. Now we have a multiplication problem. So these two properties work as well. So with a problem like this, we have 267 plus 100 plus 382 minus 267 minus 382. Instead of going from left to right, which seems like the only way we can go about it, we can actually rewrite the problem and take advantage of these two properties. Now we have 267 plus negative 267 plus 100 plus 382 plus negative 382. Okay, well now this makes our calculation that much easier. Look, the first section is now just 0 because 267 plus negative 267 is 0. We leave the 100 alone for now. We also see that 382 plus negative 382 is equal to 0. So our original problem becomes 0 plus 100 plus 0. Well, you guys guessed it. The answer is 100. Oh, come on. At this point in the video, you gotta admit that is pretty cool. Basically, with the combination of these two properties and that little trick, we're saying that for all the addition, all the subtraction, all the multiplication, and all the division problem, if we're working with ugly numbers, we have the choice to break it up, regroup it in whichever way we want to make our lives, our calculation, that much easier. Now that was pretty simple, pretty straightforward, not too bad, not too complicated. Kindergarten stuff, right? Just watching me do it. Now, here are 3 problems for you guys to try it out.
1.
Just a keynote, I will have the answers in the description for those of you guys who are curious and want to check your answers.
3.
Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end of this video. Let's summarize basically what we just went over. Associative property allows us to group the numbers in whichever way we want, as long as we're working with either all addition or all multiplication. Commutative property allows us to switch the orders around any way we want, as long as we're working with either all addition or multiplication. And on top of that, now that we have this little trick, this little way of converting subtraction into addition problems, division into multiplication problem, now we can actually work with subtraction and division using these two properties as well. And just from the combination of these three things, we have free range to break numbers up into smaller chunk, bigger chunk, combine them in whichever way we want to make our lives, our calculations that much easier. Now lastly, please like, comment, and subscribe just to acknowledge and show your appreciation to the sheer perfection, the sheer beauty of the combination of these two properties. Wow! You feel that tingling sensation, that bubbly feeling? That is your math skills leveling up.